There are many definitions of disappointment, but this one emerged from our data, and I think it's as clear and clean as it gets. Disappointment is unmet expectations. The more significant the expectations, the more significant the disappointment. Because disappointment and regret are so interwoven into our experiences of vulnerability and shame, I talk about them to some degree in all of my books. For Rising Strong, I did a deep research dive into both because it's a book about the stories we tell ourselves when we're hurting, and you can bet that these emotions are often front and center in these narratives. With disappointment, it always starts with expectations. I've found two categories of expectations in my work. Expectations that are unexamined and unexpressed. I call those stealth expectations. And examined and expressed expectations. Let's look at unexamined and unexpressed expectations or stealth expectations. Every day, sometimes every hour, we are consciously and unconsciously setting expectations of ourselves and the people in our lives, especially those closest to us. The unconscious, unexamined, and unexpressed expectations are the most dangerous and often turn into disappointment. In fact, the research tells us that disappointment is one of the most frequently experienced emotions, and it tends to be experienced at a high level of intensity. When we develop expectations, we paint a picture in our head of how things are going to be and how they're going to look. Sometimes we go so far as to imagine how they're going to feel and taste and smell. That picture we paint in our minds holds great value for us. We set expectations based not only on how we fit in that picture, but also on what those around us are doing in that picture. This means that our expectations are often set on outcomes that are totally beyond our control, like what other people think, what they feel, or how they're going to react. The movie in our mind is wonderful, but no one else knows their parts, their lines, or what it means to us. When the picture or movie fails to play out in real life, we feel disappointment. And sometimes that disappointment's severe and brings shame and hurt and anger with it. It's a setup for us and for the people involved. Disappointment takes a toll on us and our relationships. It requires considerable emotional bandwidth. Researcher Eliane Sommerfeld explains that we come away from the experience of disappointment feeling bad about ourselves and the other person. Our negativity is tinged with astonishment and surprise. And at the same time, we're trying to forgive. We're concealing emotions. We're trying to think positively and urging ourselves to move on. Look, it's exhausting. I speak from experience. Here's a story I shared in Rising Strong. For Steve and me,